The massive alien warship Dread Strike hung in the darkness of space like a jagged knife pointed at Earth. Its hull, covered in strange markings and battle scars, reflected the distant sunlight in an ominous gleam. Inside the command center, Commander Gray stood tall, his insect-like body covered in natural armor plates that clicked softly as he moved. "Show me the latest surveillance footage," he ordered, his mandibles clicking with each word. The giant screen in front of him flickered to life, displaying various scenes from Earth's cities and towns. The alien crew worked silently at their stations, their six-fingered hands moving quickly across holographic controls. They had been watching Earth for 3 months now, gathering intelligence about the planet's defenses. But what troubled them most wasn't the humans' weapons or their technology. It was something far more disturbing. "Sir, look at this," called out Lieutenant Brown, one of the younger officers. "Another training facility for their beasts." The screen showed what humans called a park, but to the aliens, it looked like a military training ground. Small to medium-sized creatures ran freely, some chasing objects, others practicing attack maneuvers by wrestling with each other. Most terrifying of all, human handlers watched nearby, clearly controlling these beasts with small devices and vocal commands. Commander Gray's antenna twitched nervously. In all his years of space exploration, he had never seen anything like this. His species had evolved from peaceful herbivores, and the idea of controlling predatory creatures was completely foreign to them. "Zoom in on that beast handler," Gray commanded, pointing at a human walking with what his intelligence reports identified as a German shepherd. The image enlarged, showing the human easily controlling the powerful creature with just a thin rope. The beast's teeth were clearly visible, sharp, deadly weapons that could tear through flesh with ease. Yet it walked obediently beside its human master, occasionally looking up with what seemed like devotion. How did they manage to enslave such creatures? Wondered Gray aloud. "Our reports show they keep these beasts in their homes, even sleep in the same room with them. The level of control they must have." Lieutenant Brown pulled up more images, creatures of various sizes and shapes, all living among humans. Some were small and furry, others large and muscular, but all seemed to follow human commands without question. "Sir," reported Officer White from the communication station, "we've intercepted more transmissions. Listen to this." A human voice crackled through the speakers. "Yeah, I'm letting the beast loose in the park later. He needs his exercise." Commander Gray's entire body shuddered. They speak so casually about releasing these weapons. And look here, they have facilities dedicated to training young beasts. The screen showed what humans called a puppy training school, but to the aliens, it looked like a facility for breeding and training more creatures. "What's even more frightening," added Lieutenant Brown, "is that they start training these beasts when they're very young. They call them puppies and kittens, clearly code names for their biological weapons program." Commander Gray paced the bridge, his clawed feet making soft tapping sounds on the metallic floor. Every new piece of information made him more concerned. These humans weren't just dangerous. They were unlike anything his species had encountered before. If they can control these natural weapons so easily, he chittered nervously, imagine what they could do to us. We must act now before they realize we're here and unleash their beast army. He turned to face his crew, drawing himself up to his full height. Send a message to the fleet. We will give these humans one chance to surrender and terminate their beast program. If they refuse, he paused, looking at another image of a human calmly walking multiple dogs at once, we may have no choice but to take more drastic action. As the message was being prepared, Commander Gray watched more surveillance footage, his antenna twitching with growing anxiety. On the screen, a small human child hugged what his database identified as a golden retriever. The fearsome beast gently licking the child's face in what must surely be some sort of dominance ritual. These humans were either incredibly brave or completely insane. Either way, they were the most terrifying species Commander Gray had ever encountered. Red lights flashed across every television, phone, and computer screen on Earth. The emergency broadcast system had been activated worldwide, interrupting all regular programming. In the United Earth Defense Council's main chamber in Geneva, 30 world leaders sat in stunned silence as the alien message played on the giant screen before them. Commander Gray's insectoid face filled the screen, his compound eyes reflecting the light menacingly. "People of Earth," his translated voice boomed through the speakers, "we have observed your civilization and discovered your terrible secret. Your mastery over beasts will not save you." General Davis, the head of Earth's military command, leaned forward in his chair, coffee cup frozen halfway to his mouth. Like everyone else in the room, he had no idea what the alien was talking about. "We demand," Commander Gray continued, "the immediate termination of your beast program. End your control over these creatures. Release them into the wild where they belong. You have 24 Earth hours to comply, or we will be forced to take action." The transmission ended, leaving the chamber in confused silence. Outside the building, people gathered in streets worldwide, looking up at public screens that had broadcast the same message. "Does anyone have any idea what they're talking about?" asked President Wilson, standing up from her chair. "What beast program?" General Davis shook his head. "We've got nothing that matches their description. No secret biological weapons, no trained attack animals beyond standard military dogs." In the corner of the room, Dr. Reed, the chief xenobiologist, was rapidly typing on her tablet. "Sir, ma'am," she called out, "I think I might know what's causing this confusion. Look at these images we've captured of the alien species." She projected her screen onto the main display. It showed various pictures of the alien civilization, taken by Earth's deep space telescopes over the past few years. "Notice anything strange?" she asked. President Wilson squinted at the images. They don't have any animals with them." "Exactly," Dr. Reed replied. "From what we can tell, their entire civilization is devoid of animal companions. No pets, no working animals, nothing. They seem to be purely herbivorous and have evolved to avoid predator species completely." General Davis's eyes widened. "Are you saying they're afraid of our pets?" As if to answer his question, a golden retriever named Buddy trotted into the chamber, his tail wagging. He belonged to one of the security guards and often wandered the building during quiet moments. Several council members smiled at the dog's entrance, but Dr. Reed jumped up excitedly. "Quick! The alien transmission is still open. They're waiting for our response. Let's see how they react to Buddy." President Wilson nodded, and they activated the return transmission. The moment Buddy appeared in frame, the alien command center erupted in chaos. They could hear Commander Gray shouting in the background. "They dare bring a beast to diplomatic communications. This is a direct threat." The transmission cut off abruptly. In the council chamber, everyone stared at Buddy, who had flopped onto his back, hoping for a belly rub. "Well," said President Wilson, trying to hide a smile, "I think we just confirmed Dr. Reed's theory. Now we need to figure out how to explain to an alien species that our beasts are actually our friends." General Davis was already on his phone. "I'm calling all military bases. We need to make sure no one does anything aggressive. If these aliens are terrified of golden retrievers, imagine how they'll react to our actual weapons." Dr. Reed knelt down to pet Buddy. "We need to show them there's nothing to fear. Maybe we could invite them to observe our beasts in a controlled environment." "A dog park," President Wilson said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. "Think about it. It's public, open, and shows exactly how we interact with our pets in the most natural setting." Just then, another transmission came through. Commander Gray appeared again, his voice trembling slightly. "We have observed you deploying small beasts in populated areas. Our sensors detect thousands of these creatures in your cities. Explain this immediately." President Wilson stepped forward, choosing her words carefully. "Commander Gray, I believe there's been a misunderstanding. What you call beasts, we call pets. They are our companions, not our weapons. Would you be willing to meet with us and learn more? There was a long pause. In the background, they could hear alien officers chittering nervously. Finally, Commander Gray spoke. You expect us to believe you keep predator species as companions. But he chose that moment to bark happily, making the entire alien command crew visibly flinch. The next 24 hours were going to be very interesting indeed. The alien surveillance room aboard the Dreadstrike was in complete chaos. Reports were flooding in from their observation posts around Earth, each more alarming than the last. Commander Gray stood in the center of the room, his antenna twitching as he tried to make sense of the incoming information. Sir, Lieutenant Brown called out, you need to see this. He pulled up a video feed on the main screen. It showed a human facility with large glass windows, filled with small beasts in separate compartments. They call it a pet shop, but it's clearly a beast distribution center. Commander Gray moved closer to the screen, his compound eyes reflecting the horrifying scene. Inside, human children pressed their faces against glass containers, pointing at various creatures. Their parents spoke with uniformed staff members who occasionally removed beasts from their containment units. They're selling weapons to children, Officer White whispered in horror. What kind of species gives biological weapons to their young? Another officer spoke up from his monitoring station. Commander, I've intercepted more communications. Listen to this. A human voice played through the speakers. Yeah, I'm taking Rex to the dog park. He's been stuck inside all day and needs to run free. Run free. Commander Gray's voice cracked. They're going to unleash it. More transmissions followed. Time for walkies. Who's a good boy? You are. Fetch the ball. Each phrase was carefully analyzed by the alien linguistics team, who became increasingly confused by the humans' strange way of talking to their weapons. Sir, reported the chief analyst, we believe these are coded commands. The humans use this baby talk language to control their beasts. It seems to be some form of psychological warfare. Commander Gray watched another feed, this one showing the human facility they had identified as a veterinary clinic. To the aliens, it looked like a maintenance and repair center for biological weapons. They observed humans bringing in their beasts, some healthy, some injured or sick. Look at their medical technology, Lieutenant Brown noted, pointing to a vet treating a cat's minor injury. They've developed healing techniques specifically for their beasts. The level of investment in maintaining these creatures is unprecedented. Just then, a new transmission caught their attention. It was from a human residence, showing what appeared to be a training session. A small human female, no more than 6 Earth years old, was commanding a large beast to sit, stay, and roll over. The alien crew watched in stunned silence as the massive creature, which their database identified as a Great Dane, obeyed the tiny human's every command. It even allowed her to dress it in something called a sweater. Their control over these creatures is absolute, Commander Gray muttered. Even their younglings can command the largest beasts. The surveillance continued, revealing more disturbing scenes to the alien observers. They watched humans sleeping peacefully while beasts roamed their homes at night. They saw humans taking their creatures into special grooming facilities, where they were cleaned and styled. Most shocking of all, they observed humans picking up their beasts' waste during walks, which the aliens concluded must be for some sort of biological weapons research. Commander, Officer White called out, we've discovered something truly alarming. Look at this global network humans call the Internet. It's filled with millions of images and videos of their beasts. The main screen filled with endless social media posts of cats, dogs, and other pets. To the aliens, it looked like a massive propaganda campaign, showing off their beast-controlling capabilities to the galaxy. Commander Gray sank into his command chair, overwhelmed by the evidence. They're not even trying to hide it, he said. They're proud of their power over these creatures. They share images of their beasts sleeping in their beds, eating from their hands, even wearing human clothing. Sir, Lieutenant Brown approached cautiously. What if What if they're trying to intimidate us? Showing us that if they can control these natural predators so easily, what else might they be capable of? Commander Gray's mandibles clicked nervously as he watched a video of a human rubbing a cat's belly. The beast was clearly in a vulnerable position, yet it trusted its human master completely. Such control over a predator species was unthinkable to the aliens. "Continue monitoring all frequencies," Commander Gray ordered. "I want to know everything about their beast program before we proceed with any action. A species with this kind of power over nature's weapons must not be underestimated." As the crew returned to their stations, a new transmission began playing. "Who's a good boy? Who wants a treat?" The aliens shuddered collectively, imagining what horrors such coded commands might unleash. The United Earth Defense Council had arranged an emergency video conference with the alien command. The large screen in the Geneva headquarters showed Commander Gray and his officers on one side, while Earth's representatives sat around a long table on the other. The tension in both rooms was thick enough to cut with a knife. President Wilson sat at the center of the human delegation, with General Davis and Dr. Reed on either side. The meeting had been going in circles for 20 minutes, with neither side fully understanding the other's concerns. "Let me be clear," Commander Gray was saying, his mandibles clicking rapidly. "We demand to know the full extent of your beast program. Our scans show millions of these creatures in your homes, parks, and specialized training facilities." Dr. Reed tried to explain again. "Commander, I assure you there's been a misunderstanding. These animals are not weapons. They're companions, friends, family members, even." The alien command staff chittered in disbelief. "Family members." Commander Gray's antenna twitched violently. "You expect us to believe you've incorporated predator species into your family units." Just then, the door to the Earth Council chamber creaked open. Max, Admiral Thompson's 8-month-old golden retriever puppy, had escaped from his office down the hall. The fluffy puppy trotted into the room, his tail wagging happily. The reaction on the alien ship was instant and dramatic. Officers dove under their control stations. Commander Gray leaped back so quickly he knocked over his chair. Warning sirens began blaring throughout their ship. They'd brought a beast directly to the negotiations. An alien officer screamed, "This is an act of war." On Earth, Admiral Thompson hurried into the room after his puppy. "I'm so sorry," he began. "Max must have gotten out when my assistant." But before he could finish, Max spotted Dr. Reed, his favorite human besides his owner. The puppy bounded over to her excitedly, putting his front paws on her lap and trying to lick her face. The aliens watched in horror as Dr. Reed laughed and scratched behind Max's ears. "Who's the sweetest boy?" she cooed. "Yes, you are. Yes, you are." "Dr. Reed." Commander Gray's voice cracked with fear. "Don't move. We'll send help immediately." Dr. Reed looked up at the screen, still petting Max. "Commander, this is exactly what we've been trying to explain. This is Max. He's Admiral Thompson's puppy. He's not attacking me. He's showing affection." To demonstrate, she gently held up one of Max's paws and made him wave at the aliens. "See, completely harmless." The alien crew watched in stunned silence as Max flopped onto his back, asking for belly rubs, which Dr. Reed happily provided. "Impossible," Commander Gray whispered. "Our data shows that creature has 42 sharp teeth designed for tearing flesh. Its bite force is significant. Its speed and agility make it a formidable weapon. Yet, it behaves like a big baby." Admiral Thompson finished, walking over to pick up his puppy. Max immediately snuggled into his arms and started falling asleep, because that's basically what he is. All he wants is love, treats, and maybe a few tennis balls to chase. The alien command staff slowly emerged from their hiding places, unable to take their eyes off the sleeping puppy. Commander Gray leaned closer to his screen, his scientific curiosity beginning to overcome his fear. "You're saying, all these creatures we've observed, the ones in your homes, in your parks, are pets, President Wilson confirmed. Domesticated animals that humans have lived alongside for thousands of years. We've evolved together. They give us companionship, and we give them care and love. Love. Commander Gray tested the word carefully. You form emotional bonds with other species. To demonstrate, Admiral Thompson scratched Max's belly, causing the puppy's back leg to twitch in his sleep. Several alien officers made surprised chirping sounds at this display. Perhaps, Dr. Reed suggested gently, you would like to meet some of our animal companions in person. Under controlled conditions, of course. We could show you that there's nothing to fear. Commander Gray was quiet for a long moment, looking at his terrified crew, then back at the sleeping puppy. Finally, he straightened up, trying to regain his dignity. In the interest of scientific understanding, we accept your offer, but we will come fully armed and with our strongest shields activated. As the transmission ended, Max let out a tiny snore, causing one last panic among the alien crew before the screen went dark. The local dog park had been cleared of all regular visitors for this historic first contact. A small group of carefully selected dogs and their owners waited inside, while a high-security perimeter had been established around the area. The alien delegation was due to arrive any minute. With a quiet hum, the alien shuttle landed in the parking lot. The door opened with a hiss of compressed air, and Commander Gray emerged, wearing what looked like enough armor to survive a nuclear blast. Behind him, 5 other aliens followed, each carrying various scanning devices and wearing protective gear. Welcome to Central Park Dog Park, President Wilson greeted them. We've arranged for you to meet some of our gentlest animal companions. Commander Gray's antenna twitched nervously as he surveyed the area. Our scanners detect 12 beasts within the enclosure. Are you certain the containment field will hold? Dr. Reed tried not to smile. Commander, the only containment here is a simple fence, and that's just to keep the dogs from wandering off while they play. Play? Lieutenant Brown clicked his mandibles in confusion. These are training exercises, surely. Just then Tom, one of the selected dog owners, threw a tennis ball across the park. His golden retriever, Rocky, bounded after it joyfully, tail wagging. The alien delegation jumped back in alarm, their armor clanking. Look at its speed, Officer White exclaimed. The pursuit capabilities are remarkable. Rocky returned with the ball, dropped it at Tom's feet, and sat down, tongue lolling out happily. The aliens watched in fascination as this pattern repeated several times. I don't understand, Commander Gray said. The beast retrieves the projectile but doesn't destroy it. What is the purpose of this exercise? Fun, Tom explained, scratching Rocky behind the ears. He enjoys it. Want to try throwing the ball? The aliens looked at each other in shock. Commander Gray stepped forward, his armor creaking. With trembling hands, he took the tennis ball. Rocky immediately focused on him, tail wagging faster. He's locked onto you as a target, Lieutenant Brown warned, raising his scanner. No, Dr. Reed assured them. He's excited because he thinks you're going to play with him. Try throwing the ball. Commander Gray, moving as if he was disarming a bomb, tossed the ball a short distance. Rocky raced after it, grabbed it, and brought it back, placing it at the alien commander's feet. The alien delegation watched in amazement as Rocky sat there, looking up at Commander Gray expectantly. Slowly, very slowly, the commander reached down and picked up the ball again. The beast wants me to throw it again, he asked incredulously. That's right, Tom nodded. That's all he wants, to play fetch. Over the next hour, the aliens were introduced to more dogs. They watched a small poodle perform tricks for treats, observed a gentle old Labrador taking a nap in the sun, and saw puppies playing together in a designated area. Their fear gradually began to turn into curiosity. The scanning devices were put away, and even some of the protective armor was removed as they realized no attack was forthcoming. The turning point came when Lisa, another selected owner, brought over her corgi, Muffin. The small dog immediately rolled onto his back, asking for belly rubs. "What is this behavior?" Commander Gray asked, fascinated. "Is it surrendering?" "No, he wants you to pet him," Lisa explained. "Here, like this." She demonstrated, and Muffin's leg began to thump happily against the ground. After watching carefully, Commander Gray slowly reached out one armored hand. Muffin didn't move, just waited patiently. The alien commander very gently touched the dog's belly. "It's soft," he said, sounding surprised. His crew gathered around, watching in amazement as their fearsome commander gave a corgi belly rubs. "I think," Commander Gray said finally, still petting Muffin, "we may have made some incorrect assumptions about Earth's beasts. I mean, pets." President Wilson smiled. "Would you like to learn more about our animal companions? We have many different species. Cats, rabbits, hamsters, cats." Commander Gray's antenna perked up with interest. "Are they similar to these dogs?" Dr. Reed and President Wilson exchanged glances. Explaining cats to the aliens would be interesting. The local animal shelter was the next stop on the aliens' Earth tour. After their successful experience at the dog park, Commander Gray had requested to learn more about how humans cared for their animal companions. His crew, though still nervous, shared his growing curiosity. The shelter manager, Mike, met them at the entrance. "Welcome to Happy Paws Animal Shelter," he said cheerfully. "This is where we take care of animals who don't have homes yet." Commander Gray, now wearing only minimal protective gear, tilted his head in confusion. "You provide shelter for beasts, pets, that have no human commanders. We call them owners or adopters," Mike explained, leading them inside. "And yes, we care for them until we can find them loving homes." The alien delegation followed him through the building, their antenna twitching at every sound. They passed rows of kennels where dogs of all sizes wagged their tails at the visitors. The cats in their separate area watched with typical feline indifference. "I can understand," Lieutenant Brown said, watching a volunteer cleaning a kennel. "You feed them, house them, provide medical care, but they aren't your pets." "We do it because they need help," Mike replied, stopping to scratch a friendly pit bull's ears through the kennel bars. "Humans feel responsible for domesticated animals. They depend on us." Commander Gray observed a volunteer bottle-feeding tiny kittens. His compound eyes reflected the scene as he processed this new information. "You care for the young of other species?" "Of course," the volunteer answered, not looking up from her task. "These little ones lost their mother. They wouldn't survive without help." The aliens huddled together, chittering in their own language for a moment. When they turned back, Commander Gray spoke softly. "On our world, different species do not help each other. It is survival of the fittest. This concept of caring for other species is—" He paused, searching for the right word. "Beautiful." Just then, they heard a commotion from one of the kennels. A small three-legged dog was barking excitedly, wagging its entire body at the sight of visitors. "What happened to that one?" Officer White asked, pointing at the missing leg. "Jack here was hit by a car," Mike explained. "Our veterinarians had to amputate his leg, but he's recovered wonderfully. He's just waiting for someone to adopt him." "But," Commander Gray seemed confused, "it's damaged, inefficient. In nature, it would not survive." "Maybe," Mike agreed, opening Jack's kennel. The little dog hopped out happily, immediately going to sniff the aliens. "But we're not nature. We're better. We help those who need it." The aliens watched in amazement as Jack, despite his missing leg, bounced around them joyfully, showing no signs of distress or disability. Commander Gray slowly knelt down, allowing the dog to lick his hand. "In 3 days," he said quietly, "we have learned more about humanity than in 3 months of surveillance. We thought your ability to control these creatures made you dangerous. But it's not control at all, is it?" "No," Dr. Reed replied, having joined them for this visit. "It's friendship, partnership, love." Commander Gray stood up, coming to a decision. I must contact our homeworld. They need to understand what we've discovered here. This could change everything for our species. He turned to his crew. Prepare a full report. Include everything. The dog park, this shelter, all of it. Our people need to see that different species can live together, help each other, make each other better. Jack sat at Commander Gray's feet, looking up at him with bright eyes. The alien commander looked down at the three-legged dog, then back at his crew. And, he added, his voice taking on an unusual tone, inquire about the procedures for, what was the word? Adopting. Lieutenant Brown's antenna shot up in surprise. Sir, you're considering taking a beast, a pet back to our ship. Jack seems to need a home, Commander Gray replied, trying to sound official despite the dog, now leaning happily against his leg. And we need to learn more about human-animal relationships. It would be a scientific study. Mike smiled knowingly. I'll get the adoption papers ready, though we might need to modify them a bit for interstellar adoption. As Commander Gray filled out the paperwork, his crew watched their fearsome leader being thoroughly won over by a three-legged shelter dog. Somehow, it seemed like a perfect symbol of how far they'd come from their initial terror of Earth's beasts. 6 months had passed since the first contact between humans and the alien fleet. The Dread Strike, once a fearsome warship, had undergone some unusual modifications. The ship's lower deck now included a pet recreation area, complete with artificial grass and toys. The sound of barking occasionally echoed through corridors that had once known only the click of military boots. Commander Gray sat in his command chair, Jack, the three-legged dog, sleeping peacefully at his feet. On the main screen, a delegation from his homeworld listened in astonishment as he gave his latest report. As you can see, Gray explained, gently scratching Jack's ears, Earth's animals have become instrumental in improving crew morale. Our stress levels have decreased by 60% since implementing the pet adoption program. The High Council members watched as the camera panned across the bridge. Several crew members had cats curled up on their control stations. Lieutenant Brown was throwing a small ball for his corgi between sensor scans. Even Officer White, once the most fearful of Earth's beasts, had a sleepy hamster in a special pocket added to his uniform. This is unprecedented, one council member said, but the results are undeniable. The Earth station reports show your crew's efficiency has actually improved. Indeed, Commander Gray replied proudly. And there's more. The human practice of caring for other species has taught us valuable lessons about cooperation and empathy. We've started applying these principles to our diplomatic relations with other worlds. Just then, the ship's newly installed pet door swished open, and Max, Admiral Thompson's golden retriever, trotted onto the bridge. The now-grown dog had become a regular visitor since the Dread Strike had established a permanent orbital station above Earth. Ah, perfect timing, Commander Gray said. This is what we call the Interstellar Pet Exchange Program. Earth animals spend time on our ships, while we share some of our planet's non-predatory species with human families. The camera showed a human family on Earth, playing with something that looked like a floating, color-changing hamster, a popular pet from the aliens' homeworld. The creature was teaching their children simple mathematics by changing colors in sequential patterns. The program has been particularly successful with human children, Gray continued. They show remarkable aptitude for understanding and bonding with different species. Jack woke up and noticed Max. The two dogs greeted each other happily, demonstrating the friendship that had developed between Earth pets and their alien admirers. The High Council watched in fascination as both dogs then settled down together near the command chair. There's one more thing, Commander Gray added, his antenna twitching with what his crew now recognized as excitement. We've discovered that humans have something called animal therapy. They use pets to help heal emotional and psychological wounds. We've begun implementing similar programs in our medical facilities. The report showed alien medical centers where Earth cats purred on the beds of patients, helping them recover. Dogs visited alien children's hospitals, bringing joy and comfort. Even small pets like rabbits and guinea pigs had found their place in alien society. And the most remarkable development, Gray concluded, is that our people are beginning to show increased compassion, not just toward Earth animals, but toward all forms of life. We're learning to see the value in creatures different from ourselves. The High Council conferred briefly, then made their announcement. Commander Gray, your mission has evolved far beyond our expectations. What began as a perceived threat has become the greatest diplomatic breakthrough in our history. We hereby officially establish the Interstellar Wildlife Conservation and Cooperation Treaty with Earth. As if celebrating the announcement, Jack stood up and gave Commander Gray a big, sloppy kiss right on his mandibles. 6 months ago, such an action would have caused a ship-wide panic. Now, the entire bridge crew just laughed. Later that evening, Commander Gray sat in his quarters, Jack curled up in his special bed nearby. He was writing in his personal log. When we first arrived at Earth, we thought their mastery over beasts made humans dangerous. We were right, but not in the way we expected. Their ability to form bonds with other species, to show kindness to creatures different from themselves, to take responsibility for those who need help. These things have changed not just our view of humans, but our view of ourselves. Perhaps the most powerful force in the universe isn't weapons or technology, but the simple act of caring for another living being. He looked at Jack, who was chasing something in his sleep, his 3 legs twitching slightly. And to think, Gray added with a gentle click of his mandibles, it all started because we were afraid of puppies.